Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to cover my simple, really fast bamboo farm you see behind me. Now this farm is pretty much ideal for early to mid-stage survival players as it doesn't use that many resources and nothing's really too complex. So you should be able to make it pretty easily once you've kind of gotten started into the game. As long as you've got a bone meal farm, you'll be set. So here is a mock-up of a design that I might put into my actual base in survival. On the left, we have our bone meal input. Now, in reality, this might actually be tied to a bone meal farm. In the middle here, we have our units that are actually going to be growing the bamboo. Now, when I say units, you know, it's this kind of repeatable slice, and I've got 8. You could make that shorter or wider, depending on your needs. And on the right here, we have our on and off switches, which I'll kind of explain in a sec. And those two switches control this yellow line and this blue line. Now, right now I have both systems off because I don't like the clicking, especially when recording videos. But normally I would want this yellow system on because right now these hoppers are locked, meaning they can't take any bone meal. And so this minecart hopper is full right now. It's not emptying into these hoppers because they're locked. So normally I would go ahead and switch that system on. I want the bone meal loading on always, pretty much, unless I don't want to hear the clicking. The second switch, however, is going to be our full system on and off. So it's actually tied to both the blue and the yellow systems, because if I want the system to run, I need both the pistons and the bone meal to be loading. So to do that, we can simply press this button on, and you'll see the system running. It's getting pretty laggy already, so I'm going to go and turn that off. If I don't want to hear any clicking, I can go ahead and turn this switch off as well. Before we get into how to build this system, I want to cover the rates. So I did mention this is really fast and you don't really want to run this for that long. I wouldn't run the system for more than maybe 5 minutes. Otherwise, your hoppers are just not going to be able to collect the drops enough and you'll start despawning and wasting. And so through my testing, I found that you get roughly 2,700 bamboo per minute, which equates to 42 stacks or roughly 3/4 of a double chest. And so that's just 1 minute. So like I said, this does get really, really fast. It's a lot of drops, and I don't know if you'll actually need that much bamboo, but who knows? Additionally, we use 2,350 bone meal per minute roughly. This equates to roughly 36.5 stacks per minute, so it's actually not too bad, especially if you're not going to be running this a lot. Usually with a bone meal farm, you'll be generating more than that, and so you should be plenty set on the bone meal side. Okay, so here is the same exact farm, just stripped of all the kind of decorative, unnecessary blocks. All you need really for the minimum are the building blocks around the bamboo growing to contain the items. Other than that, you don't really need anything, and it can be customized to your needs. If you want to go ahead and just build all of this or just want the full shopping list already, here it is. I'll also leave that in the description just if you don't want to go and pause the video and count through all of those. So as I mentioned before, you can have this exact same system just with only one on and off switch that can power the entire thing. With all that covered, let's get into how to actually build this. The first step is to determine where you want to actually grow your bamboo and how many units you want to use. In this example, I'm going to use 8 units wide. And so for this, we need an area 6 deep, 19 long, and then roughly 9 units tall. If you're going to start building this, I'm going to show you how to build one cell or one tile at a time. That way you can expand it to fit your needs. The materials needed for one tile are mud, bamboo, a dispenser, a piston, any 2 building blocks of your choice, and then 3 more building blocks. I'm going to use glass just so you can see the front, but you could just use 5 building blocks. If you have 8 tiles like mine, you're going to multiply these numbers by 8, and then we just need 6 more building blocks because these will be our end caps of our units. And so no matter how many units you have, 6 is all you're going to need. Once you've got your totals here, you can go ahead and start building. Because this is so simple, I'm not going to actually build it with you. I'll just walk you through it. If you're going to build it like mine, you want to start your mud block off with a gap of 4 to the left, a gap of 3 under it, and then a gap of 1 from the front. And then here is the profile you need for each unit. Your mud on the bottom with your bamboo, a dispenser pointing into the bamboo, piston on top, and then just surrounding it with your building blocks like that. Now, once you're done with that, we can move on to the next step. So in this step, we're going to be building the yellow subsystem just so we can build up from the ground up. It's kind of the easiest way to do it in survival especially. And here's where we actually start to use redstone. I'm going to show you how to build the separate on and off switch for this system by itself. You don't actually need this off switch, but it's kind of nice to have. And it's a little tricky to configure, so I'll show you guys how I did it. If you're just doing one cell, here are the materials you're going to need. You'll need 3 building blocks, a redstone torch, 2 droppers, a hopper, a repeater, and then a piece of redstone dust. Then for the clock that we're going to use, that's going to actually power the system, you need 4 building blocks, 2 observers, 1 repeater, and a piece of dust. And then for that on and off switch, you'll just need 13 more building blocks, a redstone repeater, a torch, 7 dust, and then a lever. Now from your first mud block, we're going to go 3 down and then 4 over and place our first building block. We're going to go out another one up front, and we're going to go 1 up and over. And on the face of this, we'll place a redstone torch. And we don't really need these blocks, so we can get those out of the way. On top of this redstone torch, we're going to place 2 droppers facing up, like that, into this dispenser here. Then we'll place a hopper into this dropper here. And on the front of this block, we're going to place a redstone repeater on 2 ticks. Make sure we're putting it onto 2 ticks. If your system is running, but you don't hear any clicking, this might only be set to 1. So just double check that. And then a piece of redstone dust. Now, since this is tileable, or a 1 wide kind of sliver that's just repeatable, you can stack this up until you reach the end, and I'll catch you on the other side. Perfect. So it should look something like that. Now, to build the clock, all we need are 4 building blocks. We're going to go 3 out from our last piece of dust and 1 up on the end. Then we're going to place just a temporary block right here. We'll place our first observer up top. Then we can drop down, break that block, and then place our second observer like so. Now we just need to pull that signal from this block here. We're going to place a redstone repeater down like that. We can keep that one on 1 tick, no problem. And we're going to place a piece of redstone dust right here to connect it all up. So we should hear a ticking, which means it's working. And if I were to place some blocks in here, the hopper would then take those, feed them into the dropper here, and feed them into this dropper up here. Now I'll show you how to make the off switch and how to route that, but first I'm going to break that just so it doesn't click all the time. This one's a little tricky, so let's do it together. Place 2 blocks going out like that. We're going to place 2 more blocks to the side, and on this middle one we can go place 1 block on top. Now we're going to go and place a repeater down here. This is going to be our locking repeater, which will lock this signal and turn off the system. And then we can place a redstone torch right there. That's going to lock the system. We can go in and connect this dot. Again, no problem. Then on this side, we're just going to be running basically a redstone line up until we get to our lever. To do that, we can place a block up. We'll place 1 more up and start going to the side up. Then we can just finish this one out. We can go horizontal 1, don't go up on that one. We can go up on this next one, and then 1 more up. And you've pretty much got it. Now let's run redstone along this wire. And then this is, in theory, the front of your wall. So you could do this one into your building block choice. I'm just going to keep it yellow so we know. And all we need is then 1 more lever. And we can verify that this works by switching this on. This torch should go off because we're powering it on this. And then there we go. All right, on to our next redstone subsystem. This one's pretty straightforward. All we're going to be doing is taking our input bone meal and then evenly distributing it across into these hoppers so that the yellow system can feed that bone meal up into these droppers. For the materials, this one will also be based on how wide your system is. Since mine is 8 wide, I'm just going to use 8 regular rails, and then you'll need some building blocks, 9 in my case, 2 redstone blocks. I use 5 powered rails. You could just get away with using 2, 1 at each end so you can carry momentum back and forth. And then at least 1 minecart hopper. Then for the storage system of the bone meal, I'm going to be using 6 double chests and then 5 hoppers. This can vary depending on how you actually get bone meal to this farm, but at the bare minimum, I would use 2 chests, and you'll see why in a second. If you're going to be building this exactly as I've done it, I would go ahead and start with our input chests. To do so, we can come 2 blocks out from our first mud block. We'll go then 2 blocks up, and then on the face of this side, we're going to place our 2 double chests. These will be kind of the initial storage of bone meal. And then on this first dispenser back here, we're going to place our last double chest. This is the crucial chest here. It's going to be holding all the bone meal that our minecart actually comes under and takes. So this one we'll want to always have here. If you want to connect your system to a bone meal farm, for example, you would still probably want to run a line of hoppers into this chest, so it's getting filled here and taken from this. But in my example, I'm using these 2 input chests, and so to connect those, I'm just going to run a line of 3 hoppers into that double chest, and then 2 hoppers pulling 1 from each of these double chests, just like that. Now I'll go ahead and build the rail. Coming on this first hopper down here, I'm going to build 4 blocks to the side. On this end block, I'm going to go 1 block of redstone up, and on all 4 of these, I will place a powered rail. We'll break the end one and place a permanent block on there just so our minecart doesn't fly off. On these hoppers, we're going to go and place our regular rails. If you do a really long system, this probably isn't going to carry your minecart enough. You can't put powered rails here. You just have to be careful on how you power them. I would go ahead and place a block probably on the side right there. That shouldn't power anything else and should just power powered rails if you have it like this. The next step is to just finish this end off, and instead of being 4 blocks wide, it's just going to be 3. On the end, we'll do the same as last time. Place a redstone block, cover it with rails, and then replace that rail with a block. Last thing to do is just place our minecart hopper, and then you should be good. A tip that I would say is how I was building this in my survival world. Now would be a really good time to pre-fill all of these dispensers and droppers and hoppers with bone meal. Because if I just filled up these 2 chests and let it flow and distribute it with a minecart hopper, that would actually take a really long time. And so I would go ahead and do it right now. The system doesn't need to be on to fill these. You can just manually get them, and you should be able to access all of the hoppers and droppers down here and the dispenser up here. With that done, we can go ahead and move on. Okay, on to our next and probably most important system, but also one of the easiest ones to build. And this again just turns on our pistons, and it's also currently linked up to the yellow system. Let's see how to build this. Material-wise, again, for each unit you use, I'm using 8, so I need to multiply these by 8. You just need 2 building blocks, 1 redstone repeater, and a piece of dust. Then for the clock and on and off switch, you'll need 8 building blocks, a block of redstone, and then a comparator, 4 dust, 2 torches, and a lever. With all these materials, let's get into it. So for 1 unit, I would place 2 blocks coming out from your dispenser, and on top of that, place a redstone repeater on 1 tick, then a piece of redstone dust behind it. Now you're just going to repeat this down for as many units as you have, and I'll catch you on the other side. So it should look something like that. Next, we'll build the clock first. So we're going to come up 1 from this line, and we're going to build a little 2x2 square, and then we'll come 1 down on here on top of this green block. We're going to place a comparator on this middle block here, and we're going to put it into subtract mode. Then we can complete this little circuit with redstone dust, and then we're going to put a redstone block here, or just any kind of redstone power source. I'm not going to do it yet because it'll turn the system on, and so I'll build our on and off switch first. To do so, I'm going to place from this comparator 3 blocks out. Now this last block is going to be the front facing one, and so you can change this to any kind of building block you want. We're going to go and put a block on top of this middle one, and we can break that one. Our lever is going to go on this block face, and then inside of this face, we're going to place a redstone torch, which is empowering this block. And just to power this comparator, all we need is 1 piece of dust. That is essentially going to lock our comparator once we have it set right now. And if we turn this off, it will then free up this comparator to run our little clock. Last, to power this comparator, we're going to place a redstone block here. And to connect this yellow line to our blue line, we're going to place 1 redstone torch on this side. And to confirm it works, we can turn it on, and you can see it's running, and everything is powering just as we need it. Alright, last but not least is our drop collection system. This one's really simple, really straightforward. It's just a minecart hopper on a rail system, collecting the drops through this mud layer, and then some kind of item unloader over here. Now, to talk about this system a little bit more, I'll go over to this model. Everything's the same, just all the other subsystems are removed, so it's a little bit cleaner to see. Over here, if you want to build it just like I did, you're going to want to start this block here, 2 block gap from this first mud block. Then this rail is really similar to the green system we did previously, same kind of build. Again, you can add redstone blocks in the middle of the rails if you need more momentum and power. For this short of a length, it probably doesn't matter, but if you did want to add more units, have a wider system, you might want to add these. And then on this right side is an item unloader. All this does is take our full minecart hopper and empty it almost immediately. This one's really, really nice. This is not my design. This is Ilmango's instant item unloader. And since it's his design, I'm not going to walk through a tutorial on how to do it. I'll leave a link to his video in the description if you want to check it out. It's really interesting. It's a great design. I have a design of my own for an item unloader, but it requires a significant amount of iron. And for this kind of build, I didn't want to have that kind of burden. I will go over the materials really quick, just so I don't leave you hanging. Here are all the components required for Ilmango's instant item unloader. And then for just any kind of rail system like this, all you need are building blocks, maybe a couple of redstone blocks, some unpowered rails, powered rails, and of course a minecart with hopper. I'll leave it here for you to screenshot if you want to build this yourself. The good thing about this kind of design is you don't have to end it here. Your rail could go further, it could go to your storage system, or it could be attached instead of this item unloader to any kind of other system you want to empty that minecart. So there's a lot of flexibility in this design, and I hope you find that useful. Thank you all for watching. I hope you guys learned something and found this video interesting. If you did, please leave a comment for feedback, or if you have any thoughts on how to improve the design. And if you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like. I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good one.